For over 2 decades now, there's been one book that has been a total lightning rod in any conversation about masculinity, spirituality, and relationships. And that's David Deida's The Way of the Superior Man. Seriously, this book has created legions of devoted followers and, at the exact same time, some really intense criticism. So today, we're going to break it all down.
Okay, let's just dive right in. This quote really gets to the heart of the book's vibe. It's all about action, about purpose, and with more than 250,000 copies sold, you just can't deny its influence. But what kind of influence is it? Well, that's where things get complicated. And right there, that's the core of the whole debate. How can a single book be seen as this profound, life-changing guide by so many people, while others see it as a completely backward, even harmful set of rules? That's exactly what we're going to dig into.
All right, to really get what this book is about, you have to start with its central idea, something Deida calls sexual polarity. He basically argues that this is the fundamental energy, the force that creates real attraction and passion in a relationship. So Deida's big idea is that everything has what he calls a masculine tilt, or essence. And this is super important. He's not talking about gender here. He defines it as an orientation toward consciousness, stillness, and having a core purpose, or a mission.
And on the other side of that coin, you've got the feminine tilt. This is all about energy, motion, the constant flow of life and love. It's the vibrant, ever-changing part of existence.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Deida breaks this polarity down across all these different levels, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. His whole argument is that the intense, dynamic play between these two opposite poles, well, that's the secret sauce for deep sexual attraction.
Okay, so that's polarity. Now let's build on that with the second huge idea in the book, which is the absolute #1 priority of a man's purpose, or really anyone with a masculine core.
This is a really big deal in the book. What Deida is saying is that for anyone with a masculine core, your life's mission has to come first, even before your relationship. And he says this isn't about being selfish. It's actually what allows you to be totally present and give your greatest gifts to your partner and to the world.
But finding that purpose, he says it's not some lightning bolt moment. It's more like peeling an onion, It's a lifelong journey. You start with the purposes society or your family hands you, you live them out, and then you wait for something deeper, something more real to come from your own core.
Okay, but, and this is a big but, this whole framework, especially when you apply it to relationships, is where things get really controversial. So let's dive into some of the sharpest criticisms out there.
So check out this quote, directly from the book. This is the kind of language that really sets people off. He's directly linking ejaculation with a loss of control, and he frames intimacy as a situation where a woman can literally conquer a man.
And you can see why, right? Critics jumped all over this. One writer from the blog Obtuse Observations called it an adversarial paradigm, basically turning intimacy into a battle for who's in control instead of a shared, connected experience.
And it doesn't stop there. Another huge flashpoint is Deida's advice on how to handle a partner's complaints. He actually suggests they're content-free and are just tests of your presence. As you can imagine, critics argue this is incredibly dismissive, framing women as irrational and saying their concerns shouldn't be taken seriously.
Now, to be fair, Deida and his supporters have a response to all this. They say, hey, wait a minute, this book isn't just for dudes. They argue it's for anyone, man or woman, who identifies with that masculine sexual essence.
But the critics aren't really buying that. They push back and point to entire chapters that are focused on, well, uniquely male biology, like ejaculation. They say that's pretty clear evidence that, come on, the book was written with biological men in mind.
So all this brings us to the big question, right? What is this book, really? Is it some kind of rigid, old-fashioned rule book? Or is there something else going on here that explains why it's still so popular?
Well, that's where the modern interpretation comes in. A lot of people who love this book today, they don't see it as a rule book at all. They frame it as more of a continuous practice. The way they see it, these ideas aren't a destination you're trying to reach. It's more like a yoga, a practice you come back to again and again for your whole life to keep getting deeper with it.
So, if you look at it that way, the ideas in the book aren't rules. They're more like openings. They're ways to approach your relationship differently. It's not a simple checklist, which Deida himself says fucks up a lot of men who are just looking for a quick fix. The whole point is the journey.
So the big shift here is that it's not about trying to fix your partner. It's about using these ideas of polarity to
to grow yourself, to get better at the whole art of intimacy.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. In our world today, where all the old traditional gender roles are dissolving, is this whole idea of masculine and feminine polarity a useful tool for creating passion? Or is it just a harmful relic that we should leave in the past? That's the question The Way of the Superior Man still forces us to ask.